Hello friends, my name is RagePanda1 and today I want to settle a little debate that I've been having on the internet repeatedly over and over for several days, and that's that I don't think that female Lionstone is really any good. And what I want to do right now is I got some clips from the community and I want to look at them and analyze them and see when she's working and when she's not and why that's not happening. Before you get your panties all up in a bunch, I'm not telling you that you're bad at the game or that you should feel bad for leveling her up or thinking that she's good or whatever. I just want to explain the subtleties that mean that she's not actually nearly as effective as you might think she is. If you look back at my old videos, you'll notice that I kept saying that she really needs to be speed tuned. You really have to have your team speed tuned, and when you do, and when you're not fighting anybody that messes with your team, then you can have great results like these. To be fair, in this clip, the person who is controlling the female Lionstone, if you can call it that, is considerably higher level than the enemy, and the enemy is not using stuns or energy control of any kind, and of course the timing was planned out well, and because of that they go in, the female Lionstone gets all of the stuff done that she needs to get done, and the enemy team feels real bad about it. And you're probably thinking that most games are going to be like that, and you can count on her to do that, and then she's going to be really good. And if she could do that, she would be really good, but she doesn't do that. Unfortunately, if your team is stunning anybody, not just the female Lionstone, okay, if they stun one of your damage dealers, they might not have enough energy when they need the energy to ult, so they'll miss the buff window, or they might get stunned after the buff already goes out, and then they just don't get to actually cast their ultimate even though they have the energy. Another thing that can happen is they can get stockpiled up on energy and everybody's full and everybody gets to ult, and they all ult at the same time, but they don't ult at the same time. It chooses a random order and people just happen to go whenever they want to go, and when that happens, you're lucky if your Lionstone does what she was supposed to do. A lot of times, she'll just ult after everybody else. The two other main things that you have to look out for, one of them we don't really have any clips of, which is just the female Lionstone straight up dying. She is well known for being a bit squishy, and running her with a healer seems to help in a lot of these clips, but I think that the healer is doing a lot more work than the female Lionstone is, and that's why I think you're better off going for sustained teams like a female Galabar. Definitely not as accessible as a female Lionstone, but even if you went with a male Lionstone just to get the sustain, you're going to see that sustain is what's actually winning a lot of these fights, and doing big burst damage is more or less irrelevant most of the time. And aside from her just dying, any energy control on the enemy team really can make you suffer here. People still aren't running it all that much. And to be fair, it's not as strong in Arena as it is in other game modes, but it still can be very effective for disrupting the enemy team. As we're getting into these clips, I really want to thank the people that sent them in. I'm currently playing on a new account. I don't have a female Lionstone built up, and I can't get these clips myself. If you want to be a person who contributes clips to the channel and you want to be featured on the channel in that way, then I suggest that you check the description box below and join the Discord, because I will be asking for help. And I might even be asking to summon on people's accounts, because there's no way I'm going to get enough stones to be able to do my streaming summoning events on every clan that comes out. But I would really love to, and if you want to help with that, that's how you can do it. So here we have Cobra versus Naster, and what we're going to notice is that we're in Valley of Conquerors, and when we get into this fight, right at the bottom left there, you can see that the female Lionstone is already all charged up. Nobody else is. She ults all on her own, and then by the time everybody else is ready to ult, they don't really get any of the benefit of doing it. And that's part of the problem. When you're in these game modes where you're traipsing through a whole bunch of teams and you're carrying over some of your energy gain, you're instantly messing up your whole team just by doing that, and that makes female Lionstone even less good in those game modes. To be fair, when I've looked at all of these clips, I have noticed that she could potentially be a little bit stronger in Arena than Valley of Conquerors, but if you're leveling her exclusively for that, it's probably not a good suggestion. And I do want to be clear that I'm not saying that she's terrible and unusable. That's obviously not true. We're going to watch her win and do great things in this video. I do think she's a bad suggestion for new players. She obviously is very difficult to use and to use correctly, and when you don't use her correctly, your team's going to suffer, and you're going to suffer hard. So I don't think it's a good suggestion, and I don't think it's something that you should just tell people is good off the bat. In fact, I don't think she really qualifies as being good. In our next clip, we're going to see her failing yet again, and it's no fault of her own. It's no fault of the person who made the team or set up the team. It's only the fault of the fact that her team is getting stunned out and they're getting energy controlled a little bit, and they just don't get to do their ults when they want to be doing their ults. And because of that, they just about lose the game. And this is another one of those situations where you've got female Devala, you've got some more healing on the team with the male Water and Sun and the Silken and all this good stuff. And because of that healing and sustain, that's why they win this round. Female Lionstone was exclusively detrimental to the team in this round. And it's not the only round that we're going to see that's like that, and that's why I'm saying she's not the pick. She's just not the pick. If you can't count on her to do the job that she's supposed to do, and unfortunately she has one job, then she's just not worth it. She's not reliable. Now, we're not going to exclusively focus on clips where she doesn't work, because that wouldn't be very genuine of me to make my arguments based on only evidence that supports it. They do win this round, and the female Lionstone is somewhat helpful in that feat. However, she misses the male Water and Sun with the ult, and at the last second, she misses the Silken with the ultimate as well. Fortunately, we're beating a really strong team here compared to us, and it's largely due to, that's right, sustain. Did you say sustain already in your head? Because you were right. That's what's really saving the day here. That's what's giving this team the ability to fight a team that is so much stronger, is that they get to do more damage because they stayed alive longer. And a lot of these clips that I got sent by the community, maybe it's just because male Water and Sun is really strong. That's probably why. But usually when female Lionstone is not quite cutting the mustard, the person who saves the day is in fact the healer. Once again here, we're going to see the same female Lionstone rush in with a very similar, or maybe even the same team as all the other clips. And she's going to do just about nothing, unfortunately. And we do hit a couple of the ults, but what you're going to see is on the enemy team, even though we boosted those ults with 400% strength, we're not really making a huge dent in the enemy team. What we're doing is we're engaging in a battle of attrition, where we're sustaining ourselves and staying alive, and whittling them down as they go. Female Lionstone didn't help with that at all. She didn't help with very much of anything in this entire fight, and that's kind of the point, is that that continues to be happening, even though these people are winning, even though they're having success. That's fine. I'm not saying that their team sucks. I'm not saying that they suck. In fact, I think a lot of these people are playing very well, and I'm impressed with them. But their female Lionstone is not very often helping them. And since we've been stuck in the negative portion of it, yet again, I want to highlight when she really works really, really well. This is what I named this video Female Lionstone Great Success, because that's what it was. She did her ultimate, her team then did all of their ultimates, and the enemy team, who was considerably stronger, got absolutely decimated. That's why you take her, that's why you build her, that's what you love to see. Unfortunately, that happened in maybe 8% of the clips that I was sent. And to be fair, these people may have been trying to send more of a variety of clips, and they didn't want to just send clips of her absolutely decimating. But this does actually kind of match my experience with using her. Sometimes she's really, really great, and I'm not even sure if it would have been possible to beat this team without those buffs lining up. It might not have been, but it's not consistent, it's not reliable, and it's not going to be a good long-term strategy. Here we've got a moderate success of the female Lionstone. She does miss an ult there for her teammate, but then everything seems to line up fairly well. She gets her ult off, the rest of the team gets their ults off, everybody's having a good time, and we get a decent W off of that. Now, I call this a moderate success because the fact that she missed the first teammate's ult made it so this was a close game. If that wouldn't have happened, it wouldn't have been a close game. And if they had been running somebody else that was maybe sustain based, or maybe did damage as well as being able to tank, or maybe grouped up the team for the rest of the people, maybe one of those things would have made the game a lot smoother. In this clip, we're going to see our female Lionstone absolutely fail because the enemy team made her fail. Once again, it's not always the person who's playing the team, it's not their fault, but she gets silenced out here, and because she gets silenced out, she doesn't get to do her ult on the people that need it, and because she doesn't get to do that, she has a hard time. To be fair, in the end of this clip, they win, and the reason is because they had the healer and had the sustain, and they were able to come back with that. Here we have another video of a great success. Now this is against a fairly evenly matched team, but everything lines up the way that we want it to line up, and we make quick work of the enemy team. Again, this is what you want to happen every time, and you're going to notice every time this happens, it's in arena. It's exclusively happening in one game mode, and that's because you have a lot more control in Arena. In this particular clip, we see ourselves getting both very lucky and very unlucky. Our Lionstone gets stunned, and that means that we're not going to be doing our ult. That means our doggo boy missed his ult on it, and unfortunately he was dead before it mattered. And then we came in with the Lionstone ult, and everything falls to pieces. Now, realistically, the only reason that this game was a victory is because the enemy was attacking the actual tank character instead of the character who was doing a bunch of damage. If that had been the other way around, it likely would have been gently wafting curtains for this team. In this clip, our female Lionstone works perfectly, and that's great, and this is even not in an arena game mode. There's a couple of things that go well here that help the team. They do get stunned, but they all get stunned. That keeps the timing relatively normal. When Birdo and female Lionstone are ulting, they happen to do it in the right order by a split second, and that also helped a lot. So she worked out really well, and she did everything that she needed to do for the team in that particular fight. And now we've got an interesting series of clips here. We've got a couple of back-to-back fights against the same team, and in this one, we're going to notice that one ult misses our Birdo, and because the ult misses the Birdo, we don't win. It's that important. That ult not getting the boost completely makes it so our team is not able to win. And what are you noticing about the team that we are playing on right now? Not really going into the sustain build, are they? It's not that they have none at all, but that makes it so that when you make a mistake like that, or your Lionstone makes the mistake for you, you just don't win. You don't get to come back from that. You missed your one shot and it's over. However, if we go into the same battle against the same team and we just happen to hit the Birdo with the ult, you're going to see that there's devastating consequences for that, and that's why we like female Lionstone, or why most people like her. And because of that one tiny interaction that was not controllable by the player, we happen to get a victory here. And that's literally the one thing that changed. The bird's ult got the benefit of the buff. If it doesn't, he loses. And there's more than one fight here that shows it. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but it's a consistent problem. Just quickly on this clip, I want to show that there's 3 teammates that end up with their ult at the same time, one of them being the female Lionstone, and she just happens to not do the thing. She just doesn't do it. The game just decides that the other people are going to do it, and that almost costs them the entire round. Luckily, the big Birdo ult gets the buff, and then they do a whole bunch of damage, and the game is saved. We're calling this clip absolutely tragic, because it goes so bad. First, we end up seeing our female Lionstone light up ready to do her ultimate before anybody else, and then one teammate, 2, 3, all 4 teammates do their ultimates before the female Lionstone decides to do hers. But wait, we're actually running a female Lume. That means that she fills somebody's ultimate within the next couple of seconds, and that should give us a chance to at least get some benefit. Unfortunately, the only person that could get the benefit dies before they're able to get their ult. Just so tragic. I'm calling this clip Sustain is just better, and the reason is because we go into this fight. Now, to be fair, Spy Fox here is punching up, and he's fighting against somebody who clearly has invested some time and money into this game, and they have a stronger team. But what happens here is, even though the Bulko sprite lines up all of their ultimates for them, and even though they go off in an order that we find to be preferable, he still ends up losing the match. And the reason he ends up losing the match is because the other guy is running huge sustain. This is part of the reason why I was so excited about some of the recent clans who had built-in anti-heal, because we need it right now. You should be running sustain on your team, and you should also maybe try to squeeze in some anti-heal, because the teams that are doing the healing are, number one, going to be way better and way more efficient in Valley of Conquerors, where they're running around doing multiple fights in a row, and they tend to win the battle of attrition unless you absolutely blow them out of the water. If you're using female Lionstone and it's working for you, then it's working for you. Don't bother changing it. That's fine. I still don't think that it's worth recommending her to newer players and to say that she's some S-tier goddess or whatever. I just don't think that's true. And I think that we've gone through enough rounds now showing the good, the bad, and the ugly that hopefully you'll agree with me that she's just not reliable and there are better options that are available to you. Now, we're going to end on a couple of clips from friend of the channel, Snagga. And in this clip, what we're going to see is that the female Lionstone basically gets it all right, and she does what she's supposed to do at the beginning of the fight. But because of the way the enemy team is working, they kill our big burst damage character before the ultimate actually does damage, And because that happens, not only was the female Lionstone useless in this fight, but obviously the character that died was useless, and it almost made for a loss on this fight. Luckily, brought it back. It was a win. We don't got to worry about it. But it was very close, and it was just because the enemy had the damage to get through and murder that very important character. That's not the female Lionstone's fault, unless she was standing there taking the place of somebody like a female Galabar, who could have been keeping your teammate alive, and then maybe they live long enough to do 2 ultimates, and you're almost back to even anyway. But if I'm going to make a video like this, I need to end on a positive note for female Lionstone and throw a bone to all of the people who are really big fans and really supporting her and think that she's the best character to be a tank or a buffer in your game. We're going to watch her do everything that she's supposed to do right here. She gets all of the buffs, the team survives, the team does all of the damage, and we're really punching up here on a much stronger team and get the win. I do believe that some of these matches that we have watched here today were won specifically because the female Lionstone was on the team. I do believe that that's true. I do also believe that the majority of them, she either was not helpful or detrimental, or she was strictly detrimental, and therefore not S tier, not even A tier, and certainly not something I would recommend to new players. And I'm sure that I have in the past, but I'm going to redact that now and say, just don't bother building her. You don't need her, and there's better options. And also, sustain is way stronger than people think right now. It's not just Male, Water, and Sun. There are a lot of great sustain champs that are going to do a lot of good work for you. We're talking shields, we're talking heals, we're talking winning the battle of attrition, and staying relevant in the fight in Valley of Conquerors, where having heals on your team can make the difference between a victory and a loss in those game modes. So in closing here, the arguments that I've gotten in return for me saying that she's not actually that good, and these are my reasons why, because it's so easy to disrupt her, is basically the main reason. I haven't actually heard much of a rebuttal from anybody. They just send me clips where she worked perfectly well, and I'm happy to admit that she can do that from time to time. I would love to know what you think about this debate, and if you agree with me or disagree and think I'm crazy and out of the loop and I don't know what I'm talking about no more. Any kind of feedback is welcome in the comments. Of course, you make me smile more if you're nice. For now, I want to thank you for watching the video. I have been Rage Panda 1, and I will see you in the next one.